All right, so here it goes. I was sexually assaulted this weekend, and this is an emotional video for me, and I'm going to start from the very beginning and say I feel bad, sad, I'm overreacting like a baby that it's an emotional video for me. I was not raped, but my situation was traumatic, and I have really tried to figure out why what happened, it was over in an instant, was so traumatic for me. And I guess because I'm a woman, because things like this, little things like this, you've been fearing, you've been worrying about, have been happening your whole life. You know, guys make cat calls to you. They touch you inappropriately. They say things that make you feel uncomfortable. I am 45 years old, or I'll be on Wednesday, May 1st, and I thought I was past that point in my life. I thought, like, once you got older and weren't as pretty, or I don't know, were more conservative, that you're done with that. And this was a wake-up call. It was scary, and I feel, like I said, I feel silly about the whole thing. I felt silly calling the police. I felt silly saying something. But okay, here's the story. It's not even that big deal. The incident happened in a safe place with my husband present, in a public place, in a high school. So my daughter had a concert this weekend. It was actually a theater production, and then I guess it's like their finals. So she had like their skits, and then there was going to be musical theater, and then I think band was probably going to play after that. And so my husband had a work function, so we were dressed probably a little bit nicer than we would be just for that, although we typically dress up for those things. And it was in the middle of the day, and I went and I watched her theater production. And when she was on, I noticed that there was someone with special needs in the auditorium, because I could hear them making like their audible sounds. And I used to be a special ed teacher, and specifically before I had my degree, after I had my associates, before I had my bachelor's, I was a one-on-one aide for an autistic child. So very familiar with those that population, and comfortable handling them, and comfortable. I knew that was probably what was going on with him, but they gave us only 3 minutes to go from one production to the next, and she was going to be in the next one, and I had to go to the bathroom. So I got up to go to the bathroom, and I did have heels on, platforms, and I kind of walked really quickly to the bathroom, and there was one other girl in the hall, and she was going to the bathroom at the same time as me. When we first came out of the auditorium, there was security there, and I kind of took note of that because I asked them where the bathroom was, but the school is shaped like in a square. And I had to go all the way to the very end of the hall. It was a pretty big hall, and then turn the corner to go to the bathroom. And I went in, I went quickly. I was like, good, I think I'm still gonna make it back before it starts. And went to leave, and I noticed that the hall was empty except for one man standing there. An adult teenager, I think he was 19 years old. And I kind of took note of that and started to walk kind of quickly. And he looked at me. He looked at me, and I recognized him as probably being the special needs child from the auditorium. And he started to approach me, and I thought, oh, he's gonna give me a hug. And that kind of makes me feel uncomfortable. Like, not always, but in this situation, it did make me feel uncomfortable. He was bigger than me. We were alone in the hall, and it just kind of made me feel uncomfortable. So I started walking a little bit faster and kind of put my hand out like this. And my goal was just to dodge the situation. And he started walking faster, and he came up, and I felt so silly. He came up, and I had a wrap dress on, and he just grabbed it, and he kind of scratched my chest, just to try to open the dress so he could see me. So that sounds like a non-incident. But when you've had a past, when you are any type of woman, and someone approaches you, and they're physically larger than you, and you are alone, you have 100 things running through your head. And I was able, like, kind of to slap him and push him, and actually because of his, because of who he was, I started screaming, and he backed up and kind of bowed his head. And it was over like that. But it's kind of like when you get in a car accident and everything's slow motion. As he was approaching me, I was thinking, crap, I have heels on and they buckle at the ankle and I can't run. Who was around? How far are the security guards? If I yell, will they hear me? What is he capable with? It was a very primal thing for him. He was not your typical, sexual predator, but he's definitely a sexual predator. As I had pushed him off and started yelling at him, someone who I believe is probably the school's band director, a female, approached and said, I've got it. And I was like, okay, where are his parents? Like, what is he doing? And she's like, don't worry, I've got it, go back to the concert. And so I'm making this video not just to say what happened, but also because her reaction was not appropriate. In every sense of the word, that was sexual assault. And even though it ended very quickly, it needed to be addressed in a real way, in a legal way. And her immediately dealing with him was dismissive. It was not appropriate. And while I believe she was trying to help, I know she was trying to help, I know she was probably generally a good person, all of the things that I felt initially, all that fear that I had, immediately she made it not valid. And I walked quickly down the hall, and then I approached the security guards, and I was like, who is with that boy? And they're like, what? And I was like, he just sexually assaulted me. And they started running, which was actually really great. One stayed back and was like, who? Describe him. And I was like, I don't know, a teacher has him, but he just grabbed me. He tried to undress me. He assaulted me. And again, they had the appropriate concern, but they also didn't ask me if I was okay. And so I went back into the concert, and it had just started again. And I looked at my husband and I was like, I was just sexually assaulted. And he started to go, shh, because the show was already in production. And then he was like, what? I was like, some guy grabbed my dress and tried to pull it off to expose my boob. And he's like, that's assault. And I was like, I know. And he's like, you need to call the police. And we went out into the hall, and I said, no, he was a special needs boy. And my husband's like, I don't care. This is a school. We have daughters here. He sexually assaulted you. You need to call the police. That's a dangerous situation. And he was left alone in the halls. So we went and found the security guard, and we let them know what happened. They knew what happened, but we just said that we felt like they probably needed to call the police because we needed a report of the incident. And while I was okay and I would kind of get over it, they needed to be aware, and it needed to be on the record that this had happened so that measures could be taken so this child wouldn't be alone with others again. And the real primary concern for me was, I'm an adult. I have been dealing with things like this my whole life. But if I had been my daughter, if he had grabbed her, I feel really silly, but it was really scary when someone approaches you that is bigger than you and you don't know what's going to happen or when it's going to end. I was so lucky because it was really quick, but it could have not been. He could have been on top of me and had my dress off before anyone got there. And I was not drinking. I was in a school. I was with my husband. I was at a school event. It really bothered me. So the police were called, and they interviewed me, and they were exactly how they were supposed to be. They were wonderful. A male officer interviewed me, and then he spoke to a female officer was present. They had a video of the incident, and so that was great. The head of security from the school, which was not our school, by the way. It was our school's theater is under construction, so it was a neighboring school. The head of security at the school was called. He came and he spoke to me as well and apologized. The parents were interviewed. They did leave him outside the restroom. I guess the mom didn't want to miss the concert, and the dad thought he'd be okay. But this is the thing that really disturbs me. He is an adult. He is over 18. He is severely autistic. And they know that he has these sexual urges that he can't control. So they don't leave females alone in the house. They don't let anyone wear tank tops around him. No skirts around him. And they brought him to a high school event and left him unattended. And I probably should even say it's not just a high school event. It's a high school event where girls are changing quickly and not so discreetly. It was like an area, not backstage, but offstage, the cafeteria had curtains. And they brought him there and left him unattended. And in addition to all this, I'm waiting for a call back from a school principal. Because he's an adult, I guess it would be different if he was a child, because he's an adult and because of his the severity of his disability, they are unable to kind of press any kind of charges. It's going to go to caseworker type thing, and the parents are considering putting him in some kind of like home institutionalized facility. But he has not and will not be banned. It's not an automatic thing from school events. So we have an adult who can't control his urges, whose parents choose to leave him alone at times, who is not banned from our school, who is, by his parents' definition, a sexual predator, a danger sexually. So I called the school principal, who I don't think knows about it. I'm waiting for him to call back. And I am going to try to make it, since he's a sibling of a child my daughter goes to school with, that he can't come to events. We have an event in 2 weeks, and like, it scares me. I don't even know if he has younger kids, maybe that go to school with my younger daughter who's in middle school. And I'm trying to get him banned from the district. Like all campuses on the district, we live in a very large school district with lots and lots of high schools and lots of kids. And so I'm going to the principal, and then hopefully he'll go with me to the superintendent. But I'm also making this video just to say that, like, even when something happens that isn't big, your feelings are valid. And yeah, I'll get over this. It's not the end of the world. It's an incident. You know, again, this child did not know what he was doing when he did this to me. But it could have been a lot more dangerous. And the what ifs just keep going through my head. And not really for me. It's the what ifs for my kids. You know, I'm glad it was me. I'm glad it happened to me. But even though it was small, it was traumatic for me. You know, I came home and did the things that everyone else does. I was like, why did I wear this dress? This dress was too revealing, and it wasn't. It was a wrap dress, so it kind of crossed. But I mean, I had gone to my husband's work event. It was appropriate. My breasts were not exposed. You know, I threw away the dress. I took a shower. I put on sweats. I covered up as much as I could. I let myself just kind of be sad and scared this weekend. And today's Monday, and I'm going to choose to be someone different right now. Not to ignore it, not to ignore my feelings, but to move past it. For you who have been the victims of rape or incest or a violent attack, I'm so sorry. Yeah. And for you who've had minor things that you've let go, I encourage you to report it. Another part of me going to the school is that teacher was very dismissive, and the fact was she witnessed a crime, and she had an obligation for the safety of the kids that go to that school to report it as such. And her solution was just to let the parents know that their kid wasn't behaving. And I realized that the people at the school were not trained in sexual assault. My husband's in the military, and so he is definitely trained in sexual assault. In fact, military leadership goes to, every month, they go to a trainer, a refresher of sexual assault prevention. So that is it. Please comment below if you can relate to this. You can comment below that I'm a baby and I'm overreacting, and it's okay, I'll take it. But I encourage you to actually really think about this and think about these little incidents that happen are really traumatic for women. And men are bigger than us, and they can overpower us. And that's a fear that we have all the time. You know, when we go running, when we go for a walk, when we're in our homes and it's dark. And I've never had that fear in a school before. And now I'm going to be more careful. So thank you for watching. If you want another video like this, I actually have something else that was very traumatic that happened to me involving a shooting in my house. So comment below and let me know if you'd like me to make you a video about that as well. Thanks so much. Bye.